What happens when a beloved entertainer walks onto a live daytime talk show expecting a light conversation, and instead finds himself pushed into a question that hits a nerve nobody saw coming? Make sure to subscribe to the Star Talks and like and comment for more talk show coverage. Whoopee, all right, so Jamie Foxx is here. Actor, musician, comedian, Oscar winner, Grammy winner, just casually collecting trophies like Pokemon cards. Welcome. Jamie, laughing, clapping his hands once. Come on now, don't gas me up too early, Whoopee. I just got comfortable in the chair. Audience laughs and applauds. Joy, you look good though. You look really good. Jamie, thank you, Joy. I appreciate that. This is one of those chairs where you gotta sit right though. If you lean back wrong, Twitter will let you know. Audience laughs again. Sarah, first of all, we're just really happy to see you. I mean, the last couple of years. Jamie, have been wild, yeah. Sarah, yeah. And people were genuinely worried. So seeing you back, smiling, joking, it really means something to a lot of people. Jamie, it means something to me too. I'm not gonna lie. There were moments where I didn't know if I'd be back doing this. So to be sitting here, joking with y'all, hearing that applause, that's a blessing. Audience applauds warmly. Whoopee. And you've been open about that journey, but not overly open. You kept some things private, which frankly you're allowed to do. Jamie, thank you. That part. People forget that part sometimes. Joy, but you're back on stage, back in films, back in music. You've got a new special. You've got projects coming up. Jamie, busy. My calendar looks like a Tetris game right now. Audience laughs. Whoopee. Sunny, I see you nodding over there. Sunny. Yeah, because I think what a lot of people admire is not just that Jamie survived something serious, but how he came back without bitterness. You know, you didn't lash out. You didn't blame anyone publicly. Jamie, well, pauses. I try to choose peace where I can. A slight pause, audience murmurs softly. Alyssa, that's not easy in this climate. Jamie, no, it's not. Especially when everybody's got a microphone now. Joy, or a podcast. Audience laughs. Whoopee, or a comment section. Jamie, that comment section is undefeated. Laughter continues. Sunny, but Jamie, since you brought up microphones, I do want to talk about something a little more serious, because this is a talk show and we do have these conversations. The room shifts slightly. A few audience members go quiet. Jamie, okay. Sunny, you've spoken before about accountability in Hollywood, about people needing to speak up when they see harm. And some critics have said that certain celebrities, even well-meaning ones, stay silent when it's inconvenient. Do you think you've ever benefited from staying quiet? Audience gives a mixed reaction, some murmurs, a few oohs. Jamie, blinks, leans forward a bit. That's a question. Whoopee, Sunny. Sunny, no, let him answer. I'm genuinely asking. Jamie, no, it's fair. It's fair. Look, I think silence can mean different things in different moments. Sometimes silence is protection. Sometimes it's fear. Sometimes it's strategy. And sometimes it's just not knowing enough to speak responsibly. Sunny, but do you think there's a moral obligation, especially when you have power? Jamie, I think there's a moral obligation to not lie. I think there's a moral obligation to not perform outrage just because the cameras are on. Audience reacts, a few claps scattered. Joy, that's interesting. Sunny, I'm not talking about performance. I'm talking about moments where people are hurt and influential voices choose comfort. Jamie, nods slowly, I hear you. But let me ask you something back. Who decides when silence is cowardice versus when it's wisdom? The studio goes noticeably quieter. Whoopee, okay, let's. Sunny, I'll answer that. When silence protects systems that harm people. Jamie, and when speaking out without facts harms people too. Audience murmurs grow louder. Sarah, I think what Jamie's saying is. Sunny, no, I understand what he's saying. I'm asking about him. Jamie, and I'm answering as me. I've spoken up when I felt informed. I've stayed quiet when I felt like my voice would become noise instead of help. Sunny, some would say that's a convenient line. A sharp intake of breath from the audience. Jamie, straightens up. See, that's where I gotta stop you. Audience reacts, a few gasps. Whoopee, hold on. Jamie, no, let me finish, please. Whoopee, go ahead. Jamie, calling someone's integrity convenient, when you don't know the rooms they've been in, the conversations they've had, or the things they've risked, that's not fair. Audience applause grows, louder this time. Sunny, I'm not questioning your integrity. I'm questioning the impact. Jamie, but the way you frame it matters. Because what happens is people at home hear that and think, Oh, he didn't do enough. And that's easy to say from a chair. It's different when livelihoods, families, and safety are involved. Joy, that's true. Sunny, public figures influence culture. Jamie, absolutely. And culture also loves to tear down people who speak imperfectly. Audience claps again. Some stand briefly before sitting. Alyssa, this is getting real. Whoopi, this is live TV, baby. Jamie, and I respect the conversation. I really do. But I don't like the implication that if you're not loud, you're complicit. Sunny, sometimes you are. The silence after that line is heavy. Jamie, after a beat sometimes. And sometimes the loudest people don't do the most good. Audience reaction is split, applause mixed with murmurs. Sarah, I think this is why people connect to you, Jamie. You're honest about the gray areas. Sunny are cautious. Jamie are careful. There's a difference. Whoopi, okay, we're gonna take a breath here. Jamie, I'm good. I'm calm. Sunny, I'm calm too. Whoopi, I know, but the audience is holding its breath. Audience laughs nervously. Jamie, look, I've sat with people who were hurt. I've listened. I've helped quietly. Not everything needs a camera. Sunny, and not everything needs to be quiet. Jamie, true. But not everything needs to be turned into a test of someone's character on daytime television either. The audience goes very quiet, then a wave of applause starts, slower but strong. Whoopi, all right. We're going to pause right there. Joy, yeah, because I feel like Twitter just woke up. Audience laughs, breaking the tension slightly. Whoopi, when we come back, we're going to keep talking with Jamie Foxx, because clearly there's more to unpack. Applause continues as the camera would normally fade, the tension still hanging in the air. The applause dies down, but it's uneven, like people aren't sure whether they're clapping to support Jamie, the hosts, or just to release the tension. Whoopi, okay, we're back. And yes, this conversation is happening. Everybody take a breath. Jamie, I'm breathing. I promise. Sunny, I am too. Joy, I don't know if I am. Audience laughs, but it's short and nervous. Whoopi, Jamie, before we went to break, you said something that landed hard. About character tests on daytime television. I want to give you space to finish that thought. Jamie, thank you. And let me be clear, because I don't want anyone twisting this later. I respect this table. I respect the conversations that happen here. But sometimes these conversations turn into moments where you're expected to give a perfect answer to a very imperfect reality. Sunny, but isn't that the responsibility of having a platform? Jamie, it's the responsibility to be honest. Not to be perfect. And honesty sometimes sounds messy. Sarah, that's true. Sunny, but honesty can also be uncomfortable for people in power. Jamie, absolutely. And I'm not saying I'm exempt from that. I'm saying the assumption that silence equals protection of harm. That's a heavy accusation. Sunny, it's a fair question though. Jamie, it is. But fairness goes both ways. Audience murmurs in agreement. Alyssa, I think what people don't see is the pressure on celebrities to respond instantly before facts come out. Sunny, I'm not asking for instant reactions. I'm asking for moral clarity. Jamie, and moral clarity looks different depending on where you're standing. Joy, this is why these conversations always get heated. Sunny, because people don't like being challenged. Jamie, or because they don't like being boxed in. The audience reacts with scattered claps. Whoopi, Jamie, did you feel boxed in just now? Jamie, a little, yeah. When someone says, some would say that's convenient, that frames me as someone avoiding responsibility. And that doesn't sit right with me. Sunny, I said some would say, not me. Jamie, but you said it. On this platform, words carry weight. The studio goes quiet again. Sarah, this is getting into semantics, but semantics matter on TV. Sunny, I'm not trying to attack Jamie Foxx the person. I'm questioning a broader pattern. Jamie, but you used me as the example. Sunny, because you're here. Jamie, exactly. Audience gives a low, oh. Whoopi, all right, let's not turn this into a courtroom. Jamie, I'm not trying to. I'm trying to explain how this feels from the other side of the couch. Sunny, then explain it. Jamie, okay. Imagine you're dealing with something serious in your personal life. Health, family, survival. And at the same time, the world expects you to be the moral referee for every issue that pops up. Sunny, public figures don't stop being public figures because life gets hard. Jamie, no, but they're still human when it does. Audience applause grows louder. Joy, that's a fair point. Sunny, and victims are human too. Jamie, absolutely. And I've sat with victims without posting about it, without press releases, without applause. Sunny, how does the public know that? Jamie, they don't. And that's okay, because helping isn't supposed to be a performance. The audience applauds strongly now. Sarah, I feel like this is the core of the disagreement. Sunny, but visibility matters. Silence can send a message. Jamie, and loudness can send the wrong one. Sunny, Jamie. Jamie, no, let me finish this one thought. There are moments when people speak up because they genuinely want change. And there are moments when people speak up because silence would make them look bad. Audience reacts loudly, some clapping, some murmuring. Joy, few. Whoopee, okay, that one hit. Sunny, are you implying that people who speak publicly are being performative? Jamie, I'm saying some are. Not all. And pretending that never happens is dishonest. Sunny, that feels dismissive of activism. Jamie, it feels honest about human nature. The audience goes quiet again, listening closely. Alyssa, this is a hard balance. Sunny, Jamie, do you think your career insulated you from consequences that others didn't have the luxury of avoiding? Jamie takes a deep breath. That's a different question. And yes, success gives you insulation. I'm not denying that. But it also puts a target on your back. Sunny, targets come with the territory. Jamie, so do responsibilities. And I've tried to handle mine without turning pain into content. Audience claps, slower this time. Sarah, I think viewers at home are probably split right now. Joy, oh, absolutely. Sunny, and that's okay. Discomfort leads to growth. Jamie, or to resentment. Sunny, only if people refuse to reflect. Jamie, or if they feel attacked instead of invited into a conversation. Whoopee, that right there is important. Audience murmurs in agreement. Sunny, Jamie, I want to be clear. I'm not questioning your heart. Jamie, it hasn't sounded that way. The audience reacts sharply. Whoopee, easy. Sunny, I'm saying that when influential voices stay quiet publicly, it can reinforce silence culturally. Jamie, and I'm saying that public silence doesn't equal private inaction. Sunny, but public influence requires public accountability. Jamie, accountability to who? The studio goes dead silent. Sunny, to the people who are harmed. Jamie, and who decides the timing, the wording, the tone? Because no matter what you say, someone will say it wasn't enough or it was too late. Joy, that's true. Sarah, social media has changed the rules. Jamie, exactly. And those rules shift every hour. Sunny, that doesn't absolve anyone. Jamie, I'm not asking to be absolved. I'm asking to be understood. Audience applause swells again. Whoopee, I think this is where people are connecting. They're hearing frustration, not avoidance. Sunny, or defensiveness. Jamie, defensiveness happens when you feel misrepresented. Sunny, then let me ask you directly. Is there anything you regret not speaking up about? The audience collectively leans in. Jamie, long pause, yes. The studio is silent. Jamie, there are moments I wish I'd been braver. Faster. Louder. And there are moments I'm grateful I waited. Both can be true. Audience applauds, some nodding. Sunny, that's an honest answer. Jamie, that's all I can give. Whoopee, and that's all anyone can ask for. Joy, this is why live TV is dangerous. Audience laughs lightly. Whoopee, we're going to continue this, because clearly there's more to say. When we come back, I want to talk about what accountability actually looks like going forward. The applause returns, heavier now, as the tension remains unresolved and the cameras would head toward another break. The applause fades more slowly this time, like people are still processing. A few audience members are whispering to each other. Someone coughs. The energy is heavier. Whoopee, all right. We're back. And I just want to say this before we keep going. This is one of those conversations that people are going to be talking about whether they agree or not. Jamie, that's fair. Sunny, that's the point. Joy, my blood pressure is definitely talking about it. Audience laughs, easing the tension just a little. Whoopee. Sunny, you said before the break you wanted to talk about accountability going forward. Go ahead. Sunny, yeah. Because this isn't about relitigating the past. It's about what responsibility looks like now, in a moment where people are demanding more transparency from powerful voices. Jamie, transparency doesn't always mean public confession. Sunny, it can mean public acknowledgement. Jamie, of what though? Because the expectation keeps changing. Sunny, of injustice, of harm, of systems that protect abusers. Jamie, And when those acknowledgments turn into sound bites, what changes? Sunny, awareness changes. Jamie, and then? The audience murmurs softly. Sunny, awareness leads to pressure. Pressure leads to reform. Jamie, sometimes. And sometimes it leads to people getting dragged without due process. Joy, that's a real concern. Sunny, accountability isn't dragging. Jamie, it feels like it when nuance disappears. Sarah, I think what Jamie's pointing out is that public conversations flatten complex situations. Sunny, but silence flattens them too. Jamie, silence can also be restraint. Sunny, or avoidance. Jamie, or survival. The audience reacts, some claps, some murmurs. Whoopee, Jamie, earlier you mentioned health, family, survival. Do you feel like people gave you grace during that time? Jamie, some did. Some didn't. Some people decided my silence meant something about my character, without knowing what I was dealing with. Sunny, public perception is part of the job. Jamie, I know. I've been doing this a long time. But there's a difference between accepting criticism and accepting assumptions. Sunny, and there's a difference between privacy and opacity. Jamie, true. But privacy is not a crime. Audience applause breaks out. Joy, that should be on a mug. Sunny, no one said it was a crime. Jamie, it's treated like one sometimes. The studio quiets again. Sunny, Jamie, let me ask this differently. Do you think celebrities sometimes hide behind private action to avoid public accountability? Jamie, yes. Some do. The audience reacts with surprise. Sunny, okay. So then how does the public differentiate? Jamie, that's the problem. They can't. And that's uncomfortable. But discomfort doesn't justify suspicion by default. Sunny, power invites scrutiny. Jamie, it does. But scrutiny without context becomes judgment. Sarah, this is a really fine line. Alyssa, and it's one that social media doesn't handle well. Sunny, we're not social media. We're journalists. Jamie, and journalists ask tough questions. I respect that. But there's a tone shift that happens when a question becomes a conclusion. The audience murmurs approvingly. Whoopee, that's important. Sunny, I'm not concluding anything about you. Jamie, it hasn't felt neutral. Sunny, because neutrality can be complacency. Jamie, or fairness. The audience lets out a collective MMM. Joy, you two are not going to agree on this. Sunny, that's okay. Jamie, I don't need agreement. I need accuracy. Sunny, accuracy is acknowledging impact. Jamie, and intent matters too. Sunny, intent doesn't erase harm. Jamie, but it explains behavior. The tension builds again, quieter but sharper. Whoopee, let me jump in here. What I'm hearing is two truths colliding. Sunny's talking about systemic harm and public responsibility. Jamie's talking about individual humanity and private action. Sarah, yeah, and both are valid. Sunny, they can't always coexist peacefully. Jamie, neither can people and expectations. Audience applause ripples. Sunny, Jamie, has there ever been a moment where you felt pressure from your industry to stay quiet? The audience leans forward again. Jamie, yes. The word lands hard. Jamie, there are unspoken rules. People don't like to admit that, but they exist. Sunny, and did you follow them? Jamie, sometimes. Sometimes I pushed back quietly. Sometimes loudly. Sometimes I chose my battles. Sunny, that's privilege. Jamie, it's also reality. Sunny, not everyone gets to choose. Jamie, I know. And that's something I sit with. Audience murmurs, a softer reaction. Joy, that was a real answer. Sunny, so why not say that publicly more often? Jamie, because every time you do, people want names, timelines, receipts. And when you don't give them, they say you're lying. Sunny, transparency requires risk. Jamie, so does speaking recklessly. Sunny, reckless to who? Jamie, to people who aren't guilty but get caught in the blast radius. The audience reacts with a low oh. Sarah, that happens. Sunny, and people who are guilty rely on that fear. Jamie, some do. And some hide behind institutions that don't protect whistleblowers. Sunny, which is why public pressure matters. Jamie, and why private strategy matters too. The audience is divided again, applause and murmurs overlapping. Whoopee. This is one of those moments where the audience is split right down the middle. Jamie, and that's okay. Real conversations don't end neatly. Sunny, but they should move us somewhere. Jamie agreed. Sunny, so where do we move? Jamie, toward allowing people to act with integrity without demanding constant performance. Sunny, toward expecting people with influence to use it visibly. Jamie, those two goals don't have to cancel each other out. Sunny, but they often do. Jamie, because we turn everything into a binary. Hero or villain. Loud or silent. Good or bad. Joy, social media loves binaries. Sunny, systems thrive on them too. Jamie, people get crushed by them. The studio grows quiet again. Sarah, Jamie, do you feel like today you're being asked to defend your character? Jamie, yes. And that's hard, because character isn't a talking point. It's a pattern over time. Sunny, and patterns can be questioned. Jamie, they can. But questioning isn't the same as implying. Sunny, I hear you. Jamie, I'm not sure you do. Audience reacts sharply. Whoopee, okay. Sunny, no, let him say that. Jamie, I think sometimes the expectation is that I sit here and accept a narrative being formed about me in real time. And when I push back, it's seen as resistance instead of clarification. Sunny, or accountability. Jamie, accountability for what specifically? The silence is intense now. Sunny, for the influence you hold. Jamie, I accept that. I don't accept being told the only valid way to use it is the loudest one. The audience applauds longer this time. Whoopee, we're almost out of time in this block. Joy, thank God. Audience laughs nervously. Whoopee, when we come back, I want to talk about the reaction this conversation is already getting. Because trust me, it's already happening. Jamie, I believe that. Sunny, me too. The applause rises again, heavier, more conflicted, as the tension clearly hasn't resolved and the conversation feels like it's reaching a breaking point. The applause comes up slower this time, uneven, like people aren't sure how they're supposed to react anymore. Some clap hard. Some don't clap at all. Whoopee, okay. We're back. And I'm going to be honest with you all. During that last break, our producers were already flagging reactions coming in. Joy, already? Whoopee, already. Jamie, that was fast. Sunny, social media doesn't wait. Sarah, that's kind of the point we've been making. Whoopee, exactly. So before we get into that, I want to ground this for a second. Jamie, you're sitting here live, having your integrity questioned, your choices dissected. How does this feel in real time? Jamie, exhales, it feels heavy. Not because I can't answer questions, but because I know how quickly moments like this get clipped. One sentence becomes the story. Not the whole conversation. Sunny, but the conversation still matters. Jamie, it does. But context rarely survives virality. Audience murmurs in agreement. Joy, ain't that the truth? Whoopee, Sunny, do you feel like Jamie's been treated unfairly today? Sunny, I think he's been challenged. And challenging power isn't unfair. Jamie, challenging is fine. Framing is what I'm reacting to. Sunny, and I've heard that. Jamie, I don't know if you've absorbed it. The audience reacts with a sharp, oh. Whoopee, okay. Sunny, Jamie, I don't think you're a bad person. Jamie, I appreciate you saying that. Truly. But intent doesn't erase impact, right? Sunny, nods slowly, correct. Jamie, then impact doesn't erase intent either. The audience applauds louder now. Sarah, that feels like the line people are going to quote. Joy, oh, they already are. Audience laughs nervously. Whoopee, let's talk about the reaction. We've got messages coming in saying, finally someone said it, and others saying, why is he being put on trial? Jamie, that doesn't surprise me. Sunny, that polarization exists whether we talk about it or not. Jamie, true. But live TV magnifies it. Whoopee, one viewer wrote in, Jamie Foxx is being way too defensive. Another wrote, Sunny Hostin is being unfairly aggressive. Joy, sounds about right. Sunny, people bring their own biases to the table. Jamie, and then they project them onto ours. Audience murmurs. Sarah, Jamie, if you could say one thing directly to viewers who feel disappointed in you right now, what would it be? Jamie, pauses, looks out toward the audience. I'd say, disappointment assumes you know the full story. And you don't. That doesn't mean you're wrong to feel what you feel. It just means there's more happening than what fits into a segment. Sunny, and to viewers who feel validated by what I'm saying, I'd say this. Questioning isn't canceling. Accountability isn't cruelty. Jamie, and defense isn't denial. The audience applauds again, split but engaged. Whoopee. This is why these conversations matter, even when they're uncomfortable. Joy, especially when they're uncomfortable. Whoopee, Jamie, do you regret coming on the show today? Jamie, no. I'd regret it if I stayed silent while something untrue was forming about me. Sunny, that's interesting. Jamie, silence would have been easier. But I didn't come here for easy. Audience applause swells. Sarah, that takes courage too. Sunny, or confidence. Jamie, sometimes those look the same. The tension softens just a little. Whoopi, let me ask something directly, Sunny. Do you feel like Jamie heard you today? Sunny, I think he heard me. I don't think he agrees with me. Jamie, that's accurate. Sunny, and I can live with that. Jamie, me too. Audience claps, relieved. Joy, well, look at that. A grown-up moment. Audience laughs. Whoopi, before we wrap, I want to address something. There's a narrative online that these conversations are traps for guests. Jamie, sometimes they feel like that. Sunny, that's not the intention. Jamie, intent and impact. Sunny, nods, I know. Whoopi, the goal is dialogue, not ambush. Jamie, and dialogue requires room to push back. Sunny, which you did. Jamie, because I felt I had to. The studio grows quieter, reflective now. Sarah, Jamie, after today, do you think you'll speak out more publicly on issues? Jamie, I think I'll keep doing what I've been doing, choosing moments where I can be helpful, not just visible. Sunny, and I'll keep asking people in power to be visible. Jamie, and we'll probably keep disagreeing. Sunny, that's democracy. Audience applause. Whoopi, all right. We're almost out of time. Joy, praise be. Audience laughs. Whoopi, Jamie, thank you for staying in this conversation, even when it got uncomfortable. Jamie, thank you for letting me finish my thoughts. That matters. Sunny, and thank you for engaging, even when you didn't like the framing. Jamie, I didn't like it, but I respect you. Sunny, I respect you too. The audience reacts strongly, applauding. Whoopi, after the show, just so you know, this conversation is already trending. Clips are being shared. Hashtags are forming. Jamie, I figured. Joy, Twitter is doing what Twitter does. Sarah, and people are arguing in all caps. Sunny, as usual. Whoopi, some are calling this one of the most intense conversations we've had this year. Jamie, I believe that. Sunny, and some are saying the studio went silent. Jamie, it did. I felt that silence. Audience murmurs. Whoopi, after we wrapped earlier, a few audience members were still talking about it during the break. Sarah, you could feel it. Joy, that's when you know something landed. Whoopi, Jamie, what happens after this for you? Jamie, I go home. I talk to my family. I breathe. And I remind myself that one moment doesn't define a lifetime of choices. Sunny, and I hope people watching take away that accountability and humanity don't have to be enemies. Jamie, that part. Audience applause grows again. Whoopi, and for everyone watching, this is why we do live television. It's messy. It's imperfect. But it's real. Joy, and sometimes uncomfortable. Sarah, but necessary. Whoopi, we want to hear from you. What did you think about this conversation? Did Jamie make his point? Did Sunny? Jamie, I'm curious too. Sunny, me too. Whoopi, share your opinion in the comments and subscribe to the Star Talks for more real talk show stories. Applause fills the studio, louder now, not celebratory but charged, as the hosts exchange looks and Jamie nods to the audience, the moment clearly lingering long after the cameras stop rolling.